Thanks for having me here. I know the topic is a challenge and opportunities in science, but all the years I've been doing data science, so I probably will speak more about the challenges and opportunities in the data science field. We all know nowadays the data science is fast growing. Actually, it's one of the most promising areas. And according to IDC, the global revenue for data science will grow from $130 billion in 2016 to $203 billion in 2020. So that's a significant growth. And data science analyzes massive amount of data and generate business insights and drive business differentiation. Now, there are plenty of opportunities in this market. And many businesses started realizing it is very important to bring diversity actually to this industry. And for instance, for online retailers, diverse teams tend to help them to analyze customers' shopping behaviors much better and make more relevant product recommendations and achieve more competitive business results. Now, the challenge is that data science today has a high bar. I provided coaching to many women professionals. One common question brought up is, how do I close the skill gap so that I can get into the data science field? First, we need to understand in the data science field there are different kinds of jobs. There are marketing jobs, sales jobs, technical jobs, and even in the technical field, there are AI developer jobs, data scientist jobs, data engineer, data visualization engineer, statistician, business analyst, and support engineer. Different jobs. I think the first question we need to ask ourselves is that what are the one or two jobs we really want to get into? And then assess the skill gaps and work to close the gap. So, another observation I have is that sometimes when people are trying to move from a different field into the data science field, the gap may be too significant. And it can create a very frustrating experience for somebody new to this field. And usually for these people, my advice is to make a adjacent move first. And so that you can still have the opportunity to leverage your previous experience. But also you have the opportunity to have some better and closer understanding of what it is it like to work in the data science field. And then that will better prepare you for finally moving into data science. Now, the good thing is that over the last couple of years, we're seeing increasing number of industry workshops and academic programs to help new people to close their skill gaps. For instance, forums like Women in Big Data, Women in Data Science offer free training on big data, on analytics, and on artificial intelligence. And also there are many industry companies offering free tools, libraries, frameworks, and building blocks for people to use. For instance, from Intel, we launched Intel Nermana Academy. It gives people free access to a wide range of tools and training and support. And for professional practitioners, we offer many solutions and tools, and for them to get started and convert beginners to experts. And also we work with universities to enrich their curriculum. And then for startups, we offer training and support, enable new ventures. So, as we close our gap and get ready, or even eventually move into this field, there are still challenges. The first big challenge is collaboration. You will find out most of the data science problems are very complex. No one individual or one team can completely address the problem. Let's say if you are a data scientist, you work from a data science team, and you need to work with, let's say, doctors to do automatic diagnosis for heart problems for patients. So first, you need to work with data engineering team who prepares the data infrastructure for you to consume. And those teams store and manage and process the huge amount of patient data or charts for you to analyze. And then, of course, within the data science team, you have to train and develop the models based upon the medical knowledge. In order to do that, you have to work with doctors and make sure that you apply doctors' knowledge to your solution so that your model can be trained to automatically diagnose heart problems. So in this case, you have to work with medical team, you work with data engineering team in order to finally deliver the solution. And of course, data science also have significant ecosystem. You have to work with the open source community, or probably academia, or leading teams in the industry to stay on top of the latest technologies and be able to apply the technologies to solve your business problem. So in general, we're seeing a lot of challenges in this field. However, we also see significant growth opportunities, and we want to see more and more women professionals to move into this field and take advantage of the opportunities and be more successful. So at the end, if you're interested, feel free to connect with me during the next few days. And thank you.
Thank you. So let's call our next speaker, please.
Hello, I'm Dr. Adeze Ore, and I'm very excited to be here to speak to you today. I'm the founder and CEO of the Kibeya Care Foundation in Africa, and I come from Nigeria, and I'm also the co-chair of the Adolescent Project, also in Nigeria. Now, when I was called to speak on women in sciences, the opportunities and challenges, I'm a family physician, and I have been for about 13 years now. 15 years. And I come from a country where basically education at the most basic level is a challenge. We have very different literacy levels across the 36 states of the country. They're mostly worse in the north. And when I started with the Adolescent Project, that was basically in the south. So you have like an average of a 20% illiteracy level. And what the project was on was, there was a high rate of dropouts from school, we noticed in the 13 to 17-year age range. And so we wanted to find out what were those societal factors that were driving that. And we discovered that for some of them, it was teenage pregnancy. For some of them, it was labor. The families needed them to do labor and raise money for the family. And it was especially for the girls. Now, I think it was mostly for the girls because girls are seen to be more responsible, and the family trusts that when they raise money, it will come back to the family. So we then started the project so we could get those girls back into school, help them with healthcare, because of course they couldn't have, for those who were pregnant, they didn't have access to safe medical care, so they could have their babies in safe environments and still be empowered to take care of themselves, their children, and their families. And then we did that for several years and were able to impact over 500,000 girls and their families. And then, so we're looking at scaling up across the country, and we discovered that in the northern part of the country, the problem was even much more, because we had early child marriage, girls as early as 6 being betrothed, and from 7 being married, to start their own homes. So that led to me starting up the Kibeya Care Foundation to give an added boost. So Kibeya focuses mostly on the north and the north central and some of the northern states of the country, while the Adolescent Project is mostly the south, the southeast, south part of the country. So we do advocacy. So we're talking, lobbying with the legislature for eradication of early child marriage, talking against things like female genital mutilation and drug abuse. Those are things that we see that are major problems in the northern part of the country. So for women in science, in the southern part of the country, where education isn't so much a challenge as in the north, at the primary level, at the secondary level, and even up to the university level, girls are at par. There are equal numbers or even more girls going to school at that level than boys. But the problem now is that you see that by the time they're graduating, they're thinking of families, and then you have the cultural norms, you have the cultural expectations that say you can't do both. So you see them, they have their degrees, and they don't aim for more. They don't aim to specialize. Because they don't see how they can combine that with rearing, children and raising a family. And so there's room for mentorship. So we talk to them. Recently, I was asked to speak in a medical school, and it's interesting because 60% of the undergraduate students were female. And so I was the only female on the panel. And ironically, I was the last speaker. So they called all the professors, read lengthy citations, talked about all their achievements, and, people were impressed. And about five men spoke before me. And when I was called upon to speak, I was just called by name. So basically, the students only knew that some Dr. Adeze Ore is coming to speak to them. They knew nothing, and the moderator of the event didn't bother to introduce what I do, where I'm from, nothing, just my name. So, and I was supposed to be giving them a motivational talk. And I thought to myself, I can give them a wonderful speech. I can talk about motivating them in whatever degrees they're studying. But part of motivation is knowing that someone has gone on ahead before you. Someone has seen certain things and overcome certain obstacles and challenges. So off the cuff, I decided to tell them a bit of what I do and some of the experiences I've had in the past. So I did that for about 2 minutes, and they were really impressed. And I said to myself, I would have been shortchanging them. I would have been denying them the opportunity to see, for those 60% females who were there, they would have left that forum thinking the opportunities are there for men and not for themselves. And seeing that a female like myself, I've been in the public sector, I've been in the private sector, I've coordinated projects for CDC, Center for Disease Control, and Federal Ministry of Health. These are things that can open their eyes to the opportunities that are there for women in science. So the reason I'm highlighting this is that culturally, women, at least from my background, women are raised to be polite, women are raised to be mild-mannered, and not to offend. Now, I could have sat there and felt if I highlight the fact that I didn't have a background like my male co-presenters had, it may have offended the male moderator. But I was thinking more of the young women who were in the audience and what they could take away from that session. And that's why I did that. And these cultural norms are things that have shortchanged women over the years. We tend to be apologetic for our achievements, and even in like a medical classroom, you'll see women submit fantastic assignments, do fantastic work, and they tend to downplay it even when they're being praised. And when we do that over time, your subconscious takes it in, that maybe it's just by chance that you succeeded at something. Whereas for men, because of the way they've been brought up, they own their success, they own their achievements, and it's something that I think women can take away from just life in general. The fact that when you do good work, accept it as good work that you've done, accept it as something somebody else can learn from. A couple of years ago, I did a master's in international health management at Imperial College in the UK, and a couple of years ago, a young lady reached me and she said she'd gone through my thesis and she was quite impressed with the thesis, and the topic had something to do with an assignment she'd been given. So we started, she contacted me on LinkedIn, and we started communicating, and back and forth, whenever she had any assignment, any project, she would write to me and would either speak on the phone or go back and forth, what do you think? And it was quite a beneficial interaction even for me. And imagine, some months ago, Forbes listed 30 remarkable young people under 30, and she was one of them. So I know that this is a young lady that has benefited from mentoring, even at a very basic level. I mean, we're not physically in the same country, but I know she also has similar experiences maybe with people there in the UK as well. So there's much to be said for mentoring and supporting, just to give someone that little nudge. Because for women, you have an instinct, you have something you know you can deliver, there's some value you know you can add to something, but sometimes you need that voice to say, yes, go ahead and do that. And if you don't have that voice, that person who can say that to you, then you may not do that thing, and then the society is worse off for it. So I'm a big advocate for mentoring in medicine, in the sciences, and especially now where we have advances in technology with artificial intelligence, web applications. I mean, there's just so many more opportunities out there now than when we started training for careers in science. So it may not necessarily be patient interaction based, but there are opportunities also for like in data science as well. So, but we need to encourage those women who are coming after us to know that, I mean, the opportunities are vast. There's just so much you can achieve. And for us at the Kibeke Foundation, what we do is we also collaborate with other non-profits and charitable organizations that are geared towards female education, for those little girls in communities who have been withdrawn from school for issues of poverty and child labor and all that, so that we get them back into school. And we also collaborate with other organizations that encourage and set up programs for coding for young girls. And my daughter as well, I mean, I've encouraged her to start coding. She's 13, and she's looking forward to a career in science as well. So why I'm excited about a forum like the Women Economic Forum and the All Ladies League is that it provides a platform where women can be seen, women can be heard. And I especially love a quote I heard recently from the Nigerian novelist Chimamanda Adichie. She said, "To love is to be known and to be seen." And basically that means to be acknowledged. And a lot of times, what women need is to feel like they're seen for who they are, they're acknowledged for what they do, and that acknowledgement is recognized, and they see the value that they add. Because I know that for most girls and most women, they just want to create value, and they want to be acknowledged to be creating that value. So I'm really happy to be here, and I am excited for all the different sessions that I'll be privileged to see, to witness and hear from other women and other partners from across the world. Thank you very much.
Do we have any more speakers for this session? Is anyone willing? Do we have any queries from these speakers?
talked about when that skill gap seems vertically too wide, too tall, to try making an adjacent move. You hold a very high position. I was curious throughout your career development if you saw a position that was a vertical jump that maybe you lacked, a certain skill, and what did you have to make those adjacent moves? Did those experiences of moving adjacently help you get to your position up?
Yeah, so let me get to that. This is a wonderful, wonderful question. This is a wonderful question. I actually have exact that experience. So, I've been working in the software industry for 25 years now. My first 15 years was doing software for manufacturing, for wafer fabs. And then about 10 or 11 years ago, I finally realized, within Intel manufacturing, my boss is the highest ranked software manager. Unless he retires, I have nowhere else to go. And even if he retires that day, I have at least 3 or 4 peers that's also waiting for his retirement. And my manager at that time was only in his 40s. So he's not going to retire until 10 years later minimum. So that's the time I started realizing I had to make a move. It may not be the right thing for me to continue to stay in manufacturing just doing software again and again. So I talked with, I started joining some of the networking sessions or forums like this within the company. And I got connected with a woman leader who later became such a significant and wonderful mentor for me. And then she said, Zia, you have to look beyond manufacturing. Actually, within this company, the most impactful organizations are the product divisions. You probably want to, check if there are software opportunities within the product division where, they deliver software and hardware solutions for Intel products. So then I reached out to several hiring managers. At least I talked with 4 hiring managers. And all of them gave me the same feedback. They said, Zia, you have years of software management experience. Unfortunately, you have never worked in product division before. You only have manufacturing software experience. So I tried to convince them that manufacturing software and product software are the same. They use the same software development philosophies. And then they also, even use the same programming language, Java or C++. They said no, they're not the same. Even though everything else you said are the same, but no, they're not. They don't have the same design philosophy and everything else. So I got so frustrated, and I realized probably the gap is so significant in this case. So I looked around, and I decided to look for a job in the Intel IT division, where this is a management job, but this team is responsible for providing IT services to all the product software groups. So I was, successful in getting the job, and in the next 4 years, my team had very frequent interaction with all the software teams in Intel product division. So all the GMs, the general managers, and directors in those divisions have become my partners or customers, and they pretty much know, how good my execution is and my team are able to deliver. So finally, 4 years later, there is a big data job that became available, and then I was talking with the hiring manager. He said, even though you have not worked in product division before, but we know you. So, and you know our environment too. And plus, you have been managing software teams for so many years. I'm going to give it a try. And he brought me over, and in the next couple of years, he was so happy with the result and also with the leadership that we demonstrated in the industry. So he kept saying, you are one of my best hires over the 25 years that I've been managing, this domain. So, that says, sometimes if the job is too significant, it's like you're not even getting an opportunity, then you may want to make a adjacent move so that eventually you have the opportunity, you earn the opportunity to move on to your dream job. So yes, I have that experience. Actually, when I was giving a talk last year at an eBay event in the Bay Area, and someone asked a very similar question, and I shared this story. And after the session, like so many people line up, they want to discuss more. It turned out the majority of them had the same experience. They're all reaching the bottleneck of their career. They're looking for that breakthrough. And if there is any silver bullet to give me the breakthrough so that I can move on to my dream job, I think we all have, this kind of challenges throughout our career.
So let's call our speakers for a group photograph, and then we will take photograph of all speakers and listeners. Firstly, speakers, please.